Hello everyone. We have today the story of Hyapatia. Hyapatia was a woman from the ancient world of Alexandria, Egypt, a scholar, and she wanted to explore all kinds of wisdom, all kinds of knowledge. She was taught, her father said about her that he wants to teach her everything that you would teach a man, that you would teach a scholar. And she had many students, and she was in the city of Alexandria, which was at the time the center of learning, of knowledge, of astronomy, and mathematics, and science, and she had many students. Let's take a look at the book that we're discussing today, that we're reading. It's called Of Numbers and Stars by D.N. Love, the story of Hyapatia, illustrated by Pam Papperone. The book is by Holiday House. Of Numbers and Stars, the story of Hyapatia. Born in Alexandria, Egypt in the 4th century CE, Hyapatia was one of the most brilliant women of the ancient world. Even though few girls learned to read or write then, Hyapatia's father, the mathematician Theon, educated his daughter as if she were a favorite son. Hyapatia became an authority in mathematics, astronomy, and philosophy. Students traveled from far away to have her as their teacher. Richly painted illustrations and an eloquent text reveal the life of this extraordinary woman and her time. Of Numbers and Stars, the story of Hyapatia, story by D.N. Love, illustrated by Pam Papperone. Holiday House, New York. On the northern tip of Egypt, where the Nile River meets the Mediterranean Sea, stands the ancient city of Alexandria, established by Alexander the Great more than 2,000 years ago. The city soon became a center of learning and trade. Scholars from all over the world came to study at the university and to read the scrolls in the great library. Glass blowing, linen weaving, and paper making flourished. Spices and perfumes, barley and dates went by ship and caravan to faraway places. In the 4th century CE, Alexandria was home to several 100,000 people who lived in graceful homes set along wide streets. It was a city of theaters and lecture halls, taverns and workshops. Artists made murals and mosaics to decorate the buildings where laws were made. In houses and on busy street corners, philosophers, astronomers, and mathematicians gathered to debate the important ideas of the day. One day, in the house of Theon, a baby girl was born. From the very beginning, she was a beautiful child, round and rosy. Her parents named her Hyapatia. Had she been born into an ordinary household, perhaps we might never have heard of her again, for girls who lived in Alexandria so long ago had few rights. Hardly any of them learned to read or write. Many became servants. Perhaps Hyapatia's mother planned to teach her how to manage a fine house, how to weave and cook and sew, but her father had other ideas. Quote, "A girl should be educated in the same way as a boy," Theon declared. "I will teach her everything I know." Since he was a professor at the university, he knew many things. As soon as Hyapatia learned to walk, he set about keeping his promise. Under her father's watchful eye, Hyapatia learned to swim in the calm, sun-bright sea. She learned the names of all the fishes and how to catch them with a spear. She learned to ride a horse, pressing her knees to its sleek sides, to the astonishment of most other girls who could only watch from their windows. Up and down the street, Hyapatia rode past the linen weavers' shops, past the linen weavers' shop, past the glass blowers and the silk merchants and papyrus makers, past the shop where her mother bought perfumed oils for the family's lamps. One summer, Hyapatia learned to row a boat, practicing until she could steer it through the sea as straight and silent as an arrow. Her father was pleased with all she had mastered, but there was much more to learn. Every day Hyapatia practiced reading and writing. She learned the grammar and the proper way of speaking. She read the works of great poets. She studied science, learning the names of the reeds and the trees and sweet-smelling blossoms that grew near her house. She studied the ways of the birds and the night creatures and learned to name the pictures the starred. She studied the ways of the birds and the night creatures and learned to name the pictures the stars painted in the dark, windy sky. One day, Hyapatia rode her horse to the university to visit her father. Leaning over his shoulder, she watched him write sentences made not of words, but of numbers. She saw the patterns the numbers made. To her, they were more beautiful than the patterns on her mother's urn. To her, they were more beautiful than the patterns on her mother's favorite urn. One look at his daughter's expectant face told Theon all he needed to know. Quote, "We shall begin with arithmetic," he said. "Later you will learn geometry and astronomy." And so they began. In time, Hyapatia knew all about numbers and lines, triangles, and squares. She learned to track the movements of Mercury and Venus, Mars, and Jupiter and Saturn across the night sky, and to predict the time of the rising and setting of the sun. Hyapatia also studied philosophy, which meant she spent a lot of time thinking about thinking. In search of true wisdom, she read the pronouncements of the oracles and debated with her father questions of values and the science of reasoning. Soon Hyapatia became a young woman noted for her wisdom and scholarship. Dressed in a tribon, the robe of a scholar, she lectured in public places around the city and at her home, where a constant stream of students from wealthy and important families absorbed her every word. Some came from Alexandria or other towns in Egypt. Others arrived from Syria, Cyrene, and Constantinople. Most studied with the woman they called beloved teacher for many years. Then they went on to important jobs in the church or in the government. With her father, Hyapatia wrote books to explain the works of other scholars. With her father, Hyapatia wrote books to explain the work of other scholars. Quiet and dignified, she won the respect of the city's leaders, many of whom came to call on her as soon as they were installed in office. After a time, Hyapatia's fame spread to other parts of the world. She received letters from other scholars eager for her opinions on math or science or philosophy. Following Hyapatia's advice, her devoted student Synesius developed an instrument called an Astrolabe. The Astrolabe helped sailors measure the angle between the sun and the horizon. It helped them determine latitude and true north as they journeyed across the sea. Although there were other women philosophers living at this time, none became as famous or beloved as Hyapatia. Through her extraordinary role as scholar, philosopher, writer, and teacher, she became a symbol of learned women for centuries to come. We have a few notes here about Hyapatia. We can read that. More about math. And the bibliography. We have here about the author, Deanne Love. Deanne Love was a teacher, school principal, and professor before becoming a full-time writer. Many of her books are inspired by things that she simply wants to know more about. The answers to her questions are often the beginning of a great story. She lives in Ohio. Papperone has both written and illustrated books for children. Publishers Weekly called her art for Eve Miriam's Low song Pitch Perfect. She lives in Pennsylvania. Holiday House. This book is by Holiday House. Of Numbers and Stars. The story of Hyapatia. So thank you very much for this book, the story of Hyapatia by the author Deanne Love and illustrated by Pam Papperone. This is a very, very good book to get. Talks about a scholar of that is still talked about today, so many centuries later. Who had many students. She had many students, and she influenced many people, and she was a great seeker after the truth, and had many students. She lived in Alexandria, Egypt at the time. She was taught by her father, and she was a great student and a great teacher later on. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Take care.